morning has already been powerful. And I can't help but focus on you, Ms. Johnson, all those words you said. Certainly I've lived that, through some part of every day of my life. But that goes to some of those unspoken things that we all have. So I wanted to take a different approach to this community weaving process. I mean, every single thing that has been said this morning is at the heart of what community weaving is, why is it necessary, and if we have to pick one word, and Marcus, you absolutely said it best about relationships, okay? Relationships. And that's what the sister was talking about with every example of these uncomfortable, unsaid incidences. It's about relationships. And then if we start looking at this word relationships, then we got two things that kind of come up over and over. We got broken and we got disconnected. We got broken systems, disconnected people. Man, we have so much of this that this is why we have so many nonprofits, so many missions, and so many efforts out there because of this, because of broken and disconnected. So what I wanted to do is to figure out who is in the room with me and what you're doing here. I mean, are you here because you're with a nonprofit? Could you show me if you're here because, okay. So that means you are mission driven. Are you here because you're a volunteer for, okay, a student? All right, because I saw CU on there. All right, now what about small businesses or small businesses? Okay, farmers. I love it. There's always some farmers in the room. That's telling you something. Now, already, just with what's in this room, we could do some community weaving right here, right now. Because all of us individuals in here right now, we're disconnected. We're here for the missions or the reasons that brought us here, and we're convening in this space in the moment, and then we're gonna go right back out there almost the same way that we came. We'll take with us a little kernel of knowledge, or maybe a bit of inspiration that might influence how we're thinking about something. But this weaving process and relationships, I really want to talk about that a lot, because let's look at nature. Nature is our best example of relationships. There are so many relationships with anything you look at in nature that that right there would be our best example of if nature can integrate things and make it work harmoniously, we as people can take some direction to how that's done. And then it also challenges us to think about, us, how we are in this moment. We are a product of community weaving right now, however we are in this moment. And that foundation and that weaving process, of course, began in our families. That's like our first environment. And then as we go to school and start becoming more social, then, those threads, strands, etc., become woven into there. And so this notion of education and experience, we're really getting a lot of strands there. A lot of strands there. I think about how missions, we exist to do good. We've kind of isolated a problem or an area or a people, that we just feel so compelled we want to help. We want to make a difference. And like Hannah said, we want it to happen like right now, today. Boom, right now. Excellent. Excellent. That spirit right there, that happens to each of us. That happens to each of us for different reasons. Sometimes trauma creates that. Sometimes an overabundance of joy creates that. Deep sadness creates that. Love. Now, all of these words we just threw out there, those are outcomes of relationships. Those are things that color how we look at things, And I think about what Marcus just itemized about this bill. In a way, if we think about it, it's really ridiculous. That we got to say all that stuff, to help protect people, against privilege. If you just think about it, I think about when I actually learned that I'm a native of what is called Denver's Northeast Food Desert. I was like, really? And then when I started learning the meaning of words like food insecurity, food sovereignty, food justice, I was like, man, Then when you think about it, we could eliminate food in front of all of that. We have that constant list running because we are so disconnected. We don't take the homogenous approach to doing things. We've become so factionated, we've become so individualized, and with the way that our technology is progressing, that actually facilitates more of the same. It brings us together in a cyberspace, in a virtual, that is not actual. That is not actual. And then this virtualness helps keep rumor board alive. It creates new facts, all kinds of things. It's influence. And we've got to kind of take a break. We've got to be grounded. We've got to have tangible things. We've got to be intentional. And so relationship building around accomplishing things, is just that. Back to those of you here with a specific mission. Well, you derived at that mission, again, because of a need, a problem, a desire, to improve something. Again, that something is, again, back to the fact that there's these two things, this disconnected and brokenness. And believe it or not, some of that is because we are so disconnected to our relationship to nature and to earth. We live in an earth, like in here, we're in built environment. And we urbanites spend so much time in built environments. Now we're trying to build nature back in the environment. Really don't build nature. Now let me tell you something else we don't do. We do not build community. I'm getting tired of that. I wish we could eliminate that community building language. Okay, I'm sick. That's just me. Now I'm going to tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. If we look at this big word, community, and some of y'all have heard me go here, so we're gonna do it again. Community, okay? Now, if we take CONM off, just throw it to the side somewhere, we got unity left, okay? Now, unity, we got a lot of vowels and a couple of consonants. Who knows what vowels and consonants are? Tell I'm old school. Okay, now if we look and say the vowels in that word community, we got U, we got I, we got the Y, okay? Well, you know why it's a vowel. So, but in any case, the U and the I, that's the important thing in this community. And it's the people. We don't build people. We don't build nature. We don't do that. There are people out there, scientists, that kind of think they're doing that. They think they're building food. We don't go there. Okay. However, you know, relationships. You know, we gotta not be uncomfortable to touch somebody that looks different, to, like she said, say hi. It starts right there. It starts with the I and the you. You know, we got the internal and the external relationship going on. You said that best. You know, we got to look at, so this community building, we are not building people. They already exist. We ain't building nature. What? Oh Lord, if we start building nature, we're out of here fast. I mean, so I want us to look at, let's say if we look at nature, and then we look at perceptions of nature, because this is us. We perceive things, and especially stuff we don't know. We really gotta develop a perception, okay? And so, all right, let's go back to these missions now. Sometimes when we get ready to go down this path of this good that we wish to do and to facilitate, etc., we do have some perceptions that come with us as we're trying to do this work. Sometimes that's where the danger begins. Sometimes that's where disconnection, uncomfortableness lives in perceptions, projections, guesses. We got a lot of words. And so this is why the value of relationship, human contact, who besides the work that you just heard Marcus talk about, it talking to 500 people, not surveys online, they are people. Lord have mercy. Okay? Can you imagine? And, you know, those yous and I's, you know, are a part of us. We're disconnected there. We're uncomfortable, you know. We don't have a relationship with that, okay? So, we gotta start here. Here, you know, up here is where a lot of perceptions can live, but sometimes we have to go in here to kind of clear that up. And, you know, we're finding why social entrepreneurship is growing. Because it's growing because we realize we can't leave heart, love, you know, we can't leave that out of the equation or we're not going to be effective. We've got so many moguls out there, stacks of money and success, unhappy, sick, disconnected. Still, with all that, disconnected. So we look at, when we're trying to affect change, we have like domains of change that we have to penetrate. So there's the individual, you know, there's the social, there's economic, there's environmental, and political. Okay, so the one mission you have has to have a strategy in every one of those categories, or you're not going to be comprehensive. You're not going to be comprehensive. You know, listen to what I think about, back to Marcus and this House bill. All the different insecurities that they try to address in that one thing. You know, that says a lot. Then I look at that in relationship to my work in my community. Add all that Marcus talked about, and be black or Hispanic. Just have a suntan. Okay, what'd you say? Have a suntan and see what happens. Absolutely. Now, I've experienced, having my license taken away just because I was driving while black in my neighborhood, and 3 different policemen said I ran stop signs completely bogus. 2 of the times I had my son with me, and it's like, when we see a policeman, we do have that just automatically, that's ridiculous, that makes me mad, that shouldn't be happening, I shouldn't have to feel like that, but hey, that's one of those things where you're like, keep it moving, yeah, all right. I'm gonna still go there first, but then I have a stop sign that says, well, okay. So, when things aren't natural, when things feel uncomfortable, we have to be willing, number one, to just step up and see what it really is. To see, how does my perception really match up to this actual situation? How does this happen? What's the intersection here? And then to be honest, I really say, not to disagree with you, but when you said it's scary, it's complicated, well, it only feels like that, again, because of disconnection and brokenness, because comprehensive relationships just really don't exist, We understand the value of relationship in a context. We're always thinking in context, if you think about it. In context. Race and that's a context for some people. And for some people, it's day to day. And so that's a big disconnect right there when you're kind of coming from a theoretical base and someone else is coming from an actual base, And the only bridge between those 2 worlds is human contact. That kind of goes against the way of doing things, doing it virtually, doing it online, on the phone, texting, And I hear all the time how things are lost. Things are lost in translation, lost in communication. That's kind of why we kind of have this thing called global warming, if we want to think about it. That's why we have so much chaos and fear. Because fear, let's look at that. Fear, in more instances than not, is inverted faith. And I have to give Eleanor Roosevelt credit for that particular, for crystallizing it in those words. Because I remember reading some things that she wrote, many brilliant things. But this one quote, she said, fear is inverted faith. And I was like, absolutely, that's right. So I wanted to bring that up. Back to what we were talking about, these perceptions. What you said is, that's a perception. We think it's scary. We think it's complicated. But it's not complicated to meet and talk to people. Start trying to build a relationship, listen. Now, sometimes listening is complicated, especially if you've been programmed that, okay, no, I'm doing this, I'm the manager, I don't listen, I tell, I direct, keep it moving. Well, that is necessary. That is necessary. Now, those of you that are have missions, I want to talk to you all a lot. I mean, talking to everybody else. But I've done a lot of work with nonprofits, and I'm kind of this new emerging, let's say, grouping of people that believe businesses should have missions, a mission-driven business, and to me, I feel like this is why a lot of nonprofits exist, because of the way our economic system it thinks of things, the way things are monetized, the way value is defined. And so then you hear about things like social capital and community currency. I'm vastly familiar with those things. In fact, those things are really what keep my business alive and help it thrive, the Betta Green marketplace, whether it's in season or out of season. And community currency, that I wouldn't even have that accessible to me without relationships, without having been intentional and realizing that I've got to deal with nonprofits, with city entities, federal, sometimes state, maybe a school, a church, a rec center. I might need to deal with a family, an individual, a student. Okay, that's a whole lot of different type of relationship dynamics that have to be incorporated and addressed. And so I'm like, well, how in the heck am I gonna do all that? Well, what do we have in common? What's your passion? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? And those are the things that build the foundation for this leading process that we have to do. Because we gotta look at it that we're not gonna be effective without incorporating all the elements. So we gotta do a lot of observation, because we miss so much information, so much right there for us to see, and in that's how we miss a lot of the people that are right there. That's how we, sometimes, I wanted to give you guys an example when I was working with an after-school program, and we were talking about environment, and what does that mean? And so most of the kids, when they were programmed to think environment would be like going to the mountains, natural open space away from here in the city where I'm at, not here. So then we had to change our whole thing about environment. Did you know that no matter where you are in any given moment, you're in an environment right then? And what is in the environment? So we started having this conversation. Then I started realizing they're not paying attention sometimes to how many birds, how many species of birds, butterflies, bugs, little things like that. They didn't know how many parks were right around, or they knew the ones where they go to, or the ones not to go to, whichever the case might be. They knew how many liquor stores were in the neighborhood. Okay, that's a fact. We didn't have that on the inventory list, but it should have been put that on. And so, environment, environment. And some of us, unfortunately, like, back to Marcus, that impacted me deeply listening to what he said. And those of you that can be there to support when that is heard, we should be there. Be present. Be present. That's another thing with relationships. Being present. This social media action is making us not really be present. Virtual presence don't count. I just want to put that out there. I don't care how many likes you're getting or whatever the heck, followers you got. Can you touch them? Do you know them? Do you have a relationship with them? Now I know I've done a lot of talking, but I wanted to stop here and just invite you all to please dialogue with me about your thoughts. It doesn't necessarily have to be about what I said, because we had a lot of awesome things. You could still be thinking like me about stuff Marcus said, or about Miss Johnson's poem, or some of the things that both Anna and the president said about BFR. It's all related. Every single thing all day, when I look at that agenda of the different things that are covered, it's all related. This is showing us how vast the weaving process is, and how whatever you're doing over there versus what I'm doing here versus what you're doing, how are we able to weave this together to build the strength? Because we've got to get back to that. This way that we've evolved, sometimes we're good about bringing a few silos together, but it's still a bigger one, We've got to have this more integrated approach. And back to my work with food literacy, environmental stewardship, social responsibility, when I started thinking about how am I going to help people that are disconnected, that need more education, that kind of even need some inspiration, maybe, how am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? That's why you heard that huge laundry list of things that I try to incorporate in the marketplace, from music to arts and culture to education, make it fun. So I tell people, food, folks, and fun, that's basically all I'm about. That's it. But I want you all, please, to talk about, what's in your mind right now as far as anything that you've heard, how it affects your mission, maybe your business, what you want to do, anyone. Yes?
Thank you so much. I love what you're saying. For me, the words, because I do have a connection with words. Words are very powerful, and that you're changing community building to community weaving. I think, words, we create our words from how we think and how we perceive.
Right.
And so all the words that we have so far have come through that means and continue to. So I think a big part of when we're talking about changing things, that words do have and can have a powerful place in that. And just that switch, when you're talking about, we don't build people, I hadn't thought about it like that before. And I love the idea of leaving. And so I just appreciate that switch, and it's already changed things in my mind.
Thank you. Someone else, or, I'm not afraid to pick. Yes.
You mentioned liquor stores, and a few weeks ago I don't even know where I was in Denver, but I was just going for a walk with my daughter, and I immediately noticed when I had kind of crossed over into a street that was like in the beginning transitions of gentrification, because there's like a coffee shop and what are those trendy like workout spaces called? CrossFit, or the CrossFit place, and like you know, like a boutique, like men's clothing kind of thing. And then one of the stores that had been recently closed that I could tell was just kind of like a remnant from the last neighborhood that was there was a liquor store that was just kind of like beat up and shut down. And I couldn't help but notice that from my own experience of living in neighborhoods like that, like the previous, not the gentrified version, that like liquor stores are usually like the only thriving like economic centers in communities of color until white folks start moving in, and then it's like not an acceptable thing. So I was just wondering if you could perhaps speak to that community weaving and like well-meaning white people that want to do something, but their very presence kind of kicks out the people that have been there for like generations, like fighting against these systemic structures that really only change a lot of the times when they show up, and then oftentimes only change for the people that are able to afford to live there, which are usually the white people that are left.
You said a lot. Now I'm trying to think about how could I answer that. Now, I could talk about the neighborhood where my mom still lives, and I went to I went from kindergarten through 6th grade in Park Hill. Now, where that is deemed a food desert currently, but when I was little in elementary school, it was not a food desert. We had King Soopers and Safeways. Now, you all, maybe some of you realize this, but all of our 50 states have food desert communities. So that speaks to intentional civic design, you know, where, for reasons, that's a whole other conversation. But what I will say is this, that gentrification is really a term that is used to kind of describe economic activity, usually meaning improvement. The bringing in of new business and resources. You know, now, what I will say is this. There were many movements that happened to try to bring organized food back into that neighborhood. And now, I told you I was in elementary school when that happened, and I have children over 25, okay? So, and to this day, nothing has happened. But then when I learned that civic planning and design happens over a timeline of 50 years, a lot of these 50-year plans are expiring, so this is where the gentrification is happening, okay? So, that's saying a lot to you. So, now to try to be sensitive to people that have lived there, I don't really see how you can help them, just off the top of my head, create more money that they can access to be able to stay in the neighborhood. You know, that's a whole nother thing about economic. Thank you. I'm sorry. Do I need this?
I know.
Oh, I thought some people were struggling.
Oh, is it true? Do I need this?
Yeah.
Okay, because I saw some no's, so I was listening. Okay. What I will say is this, that if you desire to do something good, I don't care what color this exterior is, you do it. But do it, but please try to do it comprehensively, which means you're gonna have to be willing to meet people you don't know, learn things you don't know, you know, go places you haven't been, you know, and when you feel that uncomfortableness, speak on it. Speak on it. You know, say, I feel weird right now. Whatever it is. You know, because sometimes we won't voice when we feel something uncomfortable. We just keep it in because we we try to take a barometric check around, say, oh, nobody else looks uncomfortable, guess I better be cool. I think we should bring it up, because when you take that courage, sometimes you're facilitating others to take that courage, and just talking, oh, we can work it out. If you hear what I've got to say, I'm listening to you. We're here because we wish to do something different. This improvement is gonna happen. Is there anyone else? I'm gonna take that as a no, and just say, I wanna thank you for listening, and that, please recognize the power of one, and exercise it.